Now, it wasn't the 5-each classics that I thought it was going to be, but Tottenham versus Crystal Palace was a game that had both managers' fingerprints all over it, and it did finish by 3-1. There was excitement, there was action in this game, but if you didn't see this game, the statistics and the highlights and whatever won't even begin to paint the picture of how much of a coming-of-age game this was for Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham, as well as a huge checkpoint on the road of Oli Glasners' Crystal Palace development. In the video today, we're going to see where this game was won and lost for both teams, as well as what did both teams do now going forward at any point in the video. If you do laugh, you learn, you like something, or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section and let me know what you think both managers' chances are of continuing to climb the table between now and the end of the season. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. The main reason I was so excited for this game and why I thought it might have been a 5-each thriller or something like that is because both teams, both managers are very unapologetically themselves. And we've already seen in Glasner's short time in the Premier League that he is just being himself with this Palace team. He's not really looking to tone it down for the Premier League or get overly defensive adjustments in place to compensate for how attacking it was in Germany or any of that nonsense. And out of the two teams, I found it really surprising that Tottenham were really uncomfortable being themselves, being put on the ball, because as much as Tottenham were allowed possession in the opening 10 to 15 minutes to pass the ball around, yeah, guys like Eze, Mateta, Ayew, they did go in and have a bit of a press, but it wasn't really that high up the pitch, and they were really happy to let Tottenham have the ball for as long as possible. And at first, Tottenham would get kind of excited about this. They would get all their players into position just the way they like them. They would get Emerson Royale and Udogie coming in the middle here, along with Bissouma making that nice little box of 5. We even seen Bentancur coming out into these little pockets of space here, looking to try and be an auxiliary kind of ball into some of these forward areas. And as they set up, Eze would drop back, Ayew would drop back, Mateta would drop back, the fullbacks would drop back. And, to the untrained eye, to just say it how it is, I even heard the commentator saying it in the match I was listening to, it looks very similar to Roy Hodgson or whatever. But the sentiment I was getting from this team is just the spring was coiling. Because I know how this Crystal Palace team, how Oli Glasner wants to attack. He wants to win the ball quickly, get 1 or 2 passes on the go, and try and get some space attacked. So I just felt the spring coiling. And Tottenham, when they were given this pitch and they were told by Palace, just by the possession they were affording them, you can have the ball, you can have the pitch, bring it on, let's see what you're made of. Tottenham would get into these positions here, and they really did struggle to get in between the lines for large parts of the game. The ball went from left to right. It did turn, just around the outside of the game. They never really penetrated through. And then they did get one of their first frights in the game around the 5th or 6th minute. The ball did turn over quite quickly, and Mateta got himself through on a bit of a breakaway, but he absolutely shat the bed and nothing came of it. And for the opening spell of the game, when everything was on Tottenham's right-hand side or coming down Crystal Palace's left, really no mistakes were made by Palace. There was no openings for Tottenham to actually exploit and try and get into. And equally, when Palace tried to get out this side of the pitch, nothing really ever happened. And I really did feel for Bentancur, Maddison and Bissouma being in here against just basically Lerma and Wharton. I know they get a little bit of support back here from the Ayews and the Eze in this picture, but it really didn't feel like Tottenham got much midfield dominance. There was a nice opportunity where Bentancur did turn the ball over, and with one look, one touch, hit it into a nice little channel here for Son, who shot from around the edge of the box, and ultimately nothing came of it. But it was almost a carbon copy repeat situation a couple of minutes later. Again, Bentancur and Son were involved in a bit of a ramage with the likes of Wharton, Munoz, these kind of guys around the halfway line, trying to maintain possession, and Bentancur's won it. It comes to Son. Son's played a pass without looking, played it down the channel. Werner's got away, and this is the sort of situation that you signed Timo Werner for. This is the sort of thing where you think, this is him. He's scoring a goal. This is his bread and butter. But unfortunately, Werner just went too far wide, and he absolutely bottled it, missed an absolute sitter. And from there, really, it gave Palace a bit of confidence, and they did start to try and come into this game. Mitchell did get forward once or twice. Munoz did try and threaten once or twice as well. But after that miss, Tottenham felt really nervy. A lot of their passes were second guessing, and they were becoming a little bit slower with it. And then ultimately as well, like Crystal Palace, they found a few more spaces. They were able to get up the pitch a little bit more. And when they did, I found it absolutely incredible how attacking they got themselves to be without actually creating a shot in the first half. I spoke about it when Glasner got appointed, that he loves to attack with this kind of arrowhead here of the 5. And genuinely, there was spells in the first half here where Mitchell, Eze, Mateta, Ayew, and Munoz, like this, were all lined up on the 18-yard box with Lerma and Wharton holding class. And they had this weird overload coming in from centre-back with Joe Ward predominantly. Sometimes it'd be Jokey Anderson coming into these spaces here on the ball, but predominantly it was Ward. And this happened once or twice, and honestly, Palace, if they had Edouard on over Mateta, or if they had a better striker, they could have had a goal in the first half with the play, the dominant possession they got, and, you know, the shape they were actually able to build as a bit of an attack. But the second half is where all the action was and where the spaces started to open. It felt like both managers went in at half-time and said, these are the spaces that we need to go and exploit, and we will create opportunities in this game. And neither team recognised, oh, these are the spaces that we're exploiting, we better defend them second half. And the second half started the way I hoped this game would have started from the very beginning, where the ball was moving a lot quicker. Both teams had a really clear idea of how they were going to go on and actually attack this game. And one of the things I thought they might have held back this Crystal Palace team under Oli Glasner, just with the personnel he's got available to him here, is that Asghar Kanalf was a big threat at the back post from that right midfield spot. And with Munoz maybe being, you know, I can't say I'm a Munoz expert, but I know from his time in Belgium, he was a right back, a right wing back, didn't recognise him as an attacking outlet, you know, as much as a Kanalf or even a Porro or a Udogie, somebody else that's on this pitch as an example. But in the second half, Munoz was getting right high, right up the pitch, and he was so unlucky creeping in at the back post here as the overloading attacker. He could have had a really good chance in this game, and his pace to go up and down the pitch was something that was a real feature of the second half. And Tottenham, again, are really happy for him to do that, because these are the sort of spaces that they want Son and Werner to be playing into, and they had fantastic opportunities to do that much more frequently. Now, this kind of weird overloading centre-back thing that they were doing with Ward and Joachim Anderson, like at times, it was only Chris Richards that was left at the back. We'd have this sort of situation where maybe Crystal Palace were in possession, maybe doing a bit of build-up play. The picture isn't perfect, I'm sorry guys, I'm trying my best with only having seen the game once and not having a £1 million recording studio and Sky Sports and all the rest of it. But these spaces were perfect for Tottenham. They were, because Palace knew a bit better how they were going to try and attack in the second half, they got a bit braver, the ball moved a bit quicker, like I said. Whenever Tottenham did pick up the ball, whether it was Maddison, Bentancur played some of these passes. Son would play them if it was for Werner running on, but if it was for Son, honestly, like Richards was just one-on-one quite a lot of the time, running back with either Son or Werner. And, you know, the rest of the guys were okay to recover and try and help in. But so often, like, the defence actually step ahead of themselves, move into midfield. Do a wee dance there, Richard. Sorry, pal. And I think that will give them a lot of strength in other matches and cause a lot of other teams very interesting problems. But against Tottenham, that just really fed into their hands. But again, Oli Glasner, he doesn't mind that. He wants you to attack. He wants to go and get you committing bodies forward, because as soon as you do that, if they get an opportunity to come back and win the ball and turn things around, then they are really confident that they are going to be able to get back up the pitch and cause you some problems as well. And we've seen that very quickly after Tottenham started to feel maybe a bit more confident and they were starting to actually express some dominance in this game. You know, I think we've seen it, you know, you'll know it pays off later in the game if you've seen it, but around this kind of period of the match as well, we even see Romero getting into the box as a bit of an overload, which is a bit of a foreshadowing, like I mentioned already, of what was to come. But for Crystal Palace's goal, this is where being this coiled spring and being this unashamable tactic where you accept the pros and the cons, because when the pros come, you have to take them. Crystal Palace win the ball, they turn it over really quickly. Romero and Van de Ven recover really well. Udogie's coming back, there's Ayew in support, but Eze gets away from Bentancur, and Bentancur just cannot handle it, and he thinks there's too much danger here. He brings the man down and gives away a free kick in a really dangerous area. Now, Bentancur, I really did feel held Tottenham back quite a lot in this game. And whenever I do talk about Tottenham, I know Bentancur is a player that often divides me and the Tottenham fans. I thought this was a huge sign of confidence that Ange picked him in this game. And I really did put a lot of focus and attention on him. And I thought he did do a lot of great things. But his lack of actual energy, like, he can cover the pitch, he can go box to box. I've seen it for myself, I have seen it. But his actual energy to go and penetrating between the lines, he's not got it. And I really did feel that this kind of held him back. And you've seen it in this recovery situation here where he was just done for pace. He didn't have anything else to do. And he just thought, better concede the free kick. And this is really where the game starts to turn up a notch. Bentancur comes off for Brennan Johnson. He basically starts to mirror image what Werner's doing, trying to run into pockets. And Kulusevski comes into the middle area here to help out Maddison. And this extra person who, again, Kulusevski's not rapid, but he does drive into the lines. He does see those positions, run into them, whether with the ball or without it, and cause extra problems to the likes of Lerma and Wharton. And you really did feel that Palace had maybe lost a bit of their attacking threat here, because with Brennan Johnson now coming down this side really ferociously, Tottenham now had a genuine threat left and right, and this was a bit too much for Palace to handle. And I really did feel that this change energised the whole attack, because as soon as anyone for Tottenham won the ball, Werner, Son, Brennan Johnson, they were all on their bike, they were all running in the right places, in the right directions, and they're all such selfless players that they start laying each other up, they start getting shots away. Crystal Palace have started to feel a little bit of the burn in this game. Some of their players aren't 100% fit, of course, but this overlapping centre-back thing gives them some problems throughout this half, and then the changes start to come for Palace. We get Eze for Franca, Ayew for Edouard, and Wharton for Hughes. And really, when these subs were made, it was the final nail in the coffin for Palace, because this guy Franca didn't do anything. Munoz was still probably their biggest threat down this side of the pitch, or in open play. Edouard didn't do anything. Mateta was just... Did he finish the game? He did. He was rubbish for the whole 90 minutes. Honestly, a non-entity of a striker. So when these subs came on, it really did just play into Tottenham's hands. Now, they had to make some subs a little bit later on, and I don't really feel that those subs diminished Tottenham, but they definitely took a little bit of that increase in energy that we felt in the middle of the second half. But right before the subs, we get Timo Werner's redemption goal after the sitter. Brennan Johnson gets away from his man here and just fires a ball right across. And this is the kind of spaces that the back four was leaving. They had that offside trap that they didn't recover. They didn't close that gap for. Brennan Johnson fires it across here, and Timo Werner has just got an open net. Bang, thank you very much. He'll take that all day. He feels good about himself. And then Tottenham at 1 each here really opened the game up, and Palace are forced to try and play that little bit quicker, try and actually get back into the game, because they were winning it. They need to go on. Joe Ward is coming more into this right back spot. Frank is coming in this area, and we're seeing Munoz really bomb down an attack, and that is just leaving even more spaces for Tottenham to try and exploit. And that overload from centre-back that we've seen Palace toy with in this game, Tottenham toy with earlier in the second half, comes to bear for the second goal. Of course, we see Maddison loft a lovely ball from this area here, just scoops it. The box is actually rather crowded with Palace defenders, and I don't know how Romero's managed to get into this area of the pitch with the replays and whatever I've seen, but he's just creeped up there from a throw-in from the ball going dead. He's just went up, he's been the target man. There's no Richarlison, no man like that off the bench to call upon, and he just gets the head on it, puts the ball away, and Tottenham get control in this game, 2-1. And the chance creation remained consistent all the way through for Tottenham, which is really what this team is built upon, is knowing what the strengths are of the system and scoring repetitive goals over and over again. Tottenham have really struggled to score more than 2 goals a season, and I feel it's really held them back and cost them a lot of points. This game here, where they have scored 3 goals and got the points, I know if they scored 2, they'd have still won, don't get me wrong, but this is a game that Tottenham earlier in the year would have only scored 2. And with 6 minutes of added time, if Tottenham didn't get that third in the 88th minute, the final 10 minutes of this game could have been totally different, would have been a lot tenser. And Crystal Palace, I know that third goal really does take off the shine of how competitive this game was, and, you know, really how Crystal Palace went, you know, with a 2-man midfield, 5 at the back, and kind of no attackers. And they gave Tottenham a real run for their money. I think Crystal Palace will score some more goals between now and the end of the season than maybe what this match would lend you to believe they're capable of. But there's no doubt about it that Oli Glasners needs attacking reinforcements for this Crystal Palace team. As for Tottenham, however, I think it's clear that for the teams they are going to be playing against that do want to turn the ball over quickly, maybe they don't want to play with the ball quickly all the time as we've seen in the first half, then you really do need that extra penetration in midfield that maybe Bentancur doesn't give you. Normally, I think Sarr is the man to come in because I think he can do that. But the way that you see Kulusevski, Maddison, Johnson and Werner supporting Heung-min Son here, this does feel like the team that Ange should be running with. As for Crystal Palace, the statistics in the game look dire, and like if you were to look at this, you would think, well, the whole team played crap. Crystal Palace were nowhere near it. No one completed enough duels. The pass success rate wasn't great, and all the rest of it. But honestly, like the back 3, include the wing backs in that for a back 5. Both the centre mids I thought were fantastic today. Eze, of course, was still managing his minutes. There's still no Elise, but Mateta was a real passenger. I think you get a lot more out of Edouard in that position rather than the position he actually played in this match. For Tottenham, I think this is a huge win that really does put them safely on course for top 4, top 5 as it stands now. For Crystal Palace, but this is a game where unfortunately they've not collected points, but it's been a huge kind of, lesson. You know, the will has been cast, the die has been cast in the will And with Palace only collecting 7 wins already to this point in this season, there's going to be a lot more pressure on this team to be able to push to go on and try and win matches, because it has really felt that they've been lacking invention so far this season. And I think there's definitely enough proof in the pudding, enough food for thought out of this game for Crystal Palace, where the players, the fans, everyone involved can definitely think between now and the end of the season, Crystal Palace should be looking to move themselves up from 14th in and around that mid-table zone. Because to do that now in the Premier League, you need a strong identity, you need a strong route to go, and you need to be a problem. Crystal Palace are going to be a real joker in the pack between now and the rest of the season, whereas Tottenham, if they can continue to score 3 goals a game like this, they are going to be trouble for everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. On screen there was some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.